Hello, hello. We are so glad that you're here with Cynthia
Mark.
and we are so excited to share with you some ideas that we found that have been very helpful for us. And we believe that they'll be very helpful for you as you work your way through the labyrinth of mood and anxiousness kinds of challenges in your life and other things that present themselves. And Mark's going to do a really great viewpoint on how to move through some of that. And I'm going to talk a little bit about essential oils too, to help you see what you could consider as you take charge of your own life, as you move forward in your life with new and exciting opportunities that you probably haven't experienced before. Now, we also have a number of classes we've done in the past, and they are on Teachable, and we've got them ready to upload now, and so you'll be seeing them really soon. We're excited about that, and we're excited to be able to guide you that direction. And this will be part of those, and this will be the part that we think can really change the way you see life. And we hope that it'll make a big difference. We hope that you'll find the things that you're looking for, and we know that if you you use them incorporate them into your life, you're going to find some great things. Absolutely. So I'm going to turn the time over to Mark. Or somehow maybe not turn over the time, but anyway.
We share this.
Yeah.
But,
so
we're talking about all the stress that's going on in the world today.
That's crazy.
And the stress shield. So let's jump in today. We're really excited to share some hopeful ideas for you.
Yep.
And some ways that maybe will help you and your family deal with all the stress that's going on. So let's get this thing going. There we go. So this is the second critical key that we're talking about. And we're calling it your stress shield to stay strong in the face of all the stuff that's happening with families. So this is what we hear and see ourselves. I mean, our family's not immune. We're in the middle of stresses all the time.
Right. Well, I feel like that little guy underneath the foot, like right in the middle of our house flood during COVID. That's
and then add COVID on top of it. So, it just keeps coming. But it's interesting. It seems like it's escalated to me, at least recently, with all of the, not just the fear, but all of the blame and the fear and the anger and everything going on that seems to be seeping into our society.
Yeah, it's like people don't know what to do with their emotions. They don't know how to express them.
It's just kind of out of control. And we talk to people who say, I just feel like I'm being dragged into these situations that aren't even my fault. I don't even, it's not even something that I should be involved in. I'm just being pulled into it. Yeah. And I have to deal with those stresses. And other people are saying, there are these people that in either family or friends or trusted relationships that I've had for a long time, and suddenly it's just like, bam! I'm blindsided by something that that has happened that is kind of totally out of the blue, and people are dealing with all of these stresses. That not only takes a toll emotionally, but it also impacts our physical situation as well, and how
that's true.
The energy level that we have, the health that we have, and a lot of people are starting to feel run down on that side of their lives.
They work together. They work hand in hand.
Absolutely. So, speaking of stress, a few years back, he looks run down and emotionally stressed. Speaking of stress, a few years back, we were in the middle of severe stress, and me personally, especially, at a very, very low point in my life. I was experiencing extreme depression. We had gone through some very, very difficult financial kinds of things, career turnarounds for me. There had been some situations with partners that had gone really, really badly, really sour. And I was at a really very, very dark point in my life, and nothing seemed to be working. We had tried a lot of different things. Oils actually did help a lot. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but still not enough to pull me all the way out. And so I was fortunate to be introduced to a life coach that just made a huge difference in my life, Brad. And the first time I went in to talk to Brad, we talked for a minute, and then he said, well, tell me what's going on. And so I just dived in and started telling him all these horrible things that had happened to me, and the awful things that my partners had done, and how it wasn't my fault. And I went through this whole story and just dumped it all out. And he stopped for a minute and looked at me. And I was expecting, he's a coach, he's a counselor, he's going to give me some reflective listening here or empathic, kind of response. And this is what he said to me. So, Mark, how's that working for you? And I was just like, what? Are you kidding me? I just spilled my guts here, laid it all out, and that's your answer?
Kind of embarrassing,
yeah,
too, right?
It was kind of, oh, I was angry. I was like, I was ready to get up and walk out of that room and punch him on the way out. I was not happy at all. But I calmed down and I said, well, obviously it's not working for me. And he said, well, here's the problem, Mark. And he introduced me to this really important concept that has made a major difference. He said,
don't look like that.
Don't look like that. Do not yell at your phone. But he said, you are stuck in the story. And I said, what do you mean stuck in the story? He said, the story is obviously not working for you, and yet you keep telling the story over and over and over again. And you're stuck in this story, whatever your story is, and it's not working for you. And I thought, wow, I'd never thought about it that way. And all of these things that had happened to me, he didn't deny, those things absolutely had happened to me. The partnerships had been really bad. There were some very terrible, awful things that were done to me.
Very sour.
Very sour. But they were done. They were done. And I was stuck in this story of telling it over and reliving it. And it was impacting my emotional life. It was running me down physically and really taking a toll.
And that's just him personally. And, when you have that kind of a wave going on inside of you, it makes ripple effects around everyone else. So they also deal with whatever the issue is, right?
Absolutely. So here's the cycle that happens. We have something, we have a trauma, we have something, a difficulty in life, something that causes us pain. That's the ouch. And for me, it was this, let's just call it the partnership deal. That's the ouch. And when something reminds us of that, or when we think about it, we say, ouch. And then we immediately go into what I call grr. That's the anger part of it. And that's the upsetness that comes with it.
It's also kind of a clutch you're holding on to.
Yeah, you're holding on to it, absolutely. And it's this just holding on to it, and grr. And then we move into, because it causes us so much pain, we have to explain why this happened and why it is such a problem. And that's the story part of it. And so I call this the blah, blah, blah part, because we tell the story over and over and over again.
You're always rationalizing it.
And you're
saying, well, this is why.
Blaming someone else or rationalizing it and making up all these excuses. And then you kind of get through it and you leave it. And then something reminds you again of that, and you're immediately triggered back into it. And you go through the whole cycle again. The ouch, I remember so many days when I would just think about, that guy, if he would have, I was so upset, and I would go into the grr, and then I would tell my story over and over again, and I was stuck in this cycle.
And depression is anger turned inwards. So, when you carry that around with you, you're carrying all this anger in you as well.
Absolutely, so true. So in the middle of this, we moved into a new neighborhood, and I met a gentleman who befriended me. We struck up a friendship, and he was very charismatic kind of a guy, very educated, successful kind of a guy. And very early on in our relationship, he told me this long story about 20 years ago, how he had been part of a partnership that had come up with an amazing breakthrough kind of a product. They were ready to take it to market, and right before they took it to market, his partner cut him out, completely left him out of the deal. His partner went on to make millions and millions of dollars. And this friend was so angry, and he told me all of the stories and all of the blame and why this was so horrible and why his partner was so bad, and over again. And I thought, wow, that's pretty awful. I'm sorry that happened to you. But what I noticed was over the next couple of years, actually, every time something triggered something that was close to that or something that reminded him of that, I got the story over and over and over again. And I realized, oh my goodness, he's stuck in his story 20 years ago and he can't let go of it. He's still stuck in that story. That is the kind of thing that can just eat up your life, and it impacts your emotions, it impacts your relationships, your physical body, your physical health. Everything is impacted by that.
You know,
kind of
neither one
thing.
of us are psychologists by training,
Right.
and we're not pretending to be that. And we recognize that there are a lot of other things that go into these kinds of situations that people have. And so, although, you know, Mark's given that story, we don't know his full background.
No.
So we're just looking at it at face value, right? And, you know, Mark can explain his story, however.
Exactly. So the reality is that in life, we're all victimized at one point or another. Something's going to happen to us.
Somebody can purposely run into you.
Yeah.
I mean, things just happen.
Whether it's accidental or purposely, we are all victimized. And the trick is that we have a choice as to whether we're going to be victims and hold on to that and get stuck in that story, or whether we're going to allow ourselves to be victors, to move beyond that, and to recognize that staying stuck in that story is not serving a purpose. It's not working for us, right? So as we move through
allow
this,
us to move forward. It
Right.
stops us right there, and that's why what the stuck is. We can't move forward because we keep the same idea going over and over and over in our heads.
it's so interesting, and it's so it seems so obvious when you see it in someone else, and yet when you step back and listen to your own language and your own interactions, it's interesting to see how often we get stuck in our own stories. And if there are areas in your life where you're not feeling like you can move forward, it's a good check-in to step back and say, well, am I stuck in a story here? Am I pretending like I'm the victim and I'm not moving forward in my life? So we'll be talking about how to get out of that blah, blah, blah cycle and move on to a story that really is wonderful and productive in our lives. And we'll be talking more about that in future sessions. But that's the key, is to break that cycle and to make it a productive story that works for us. That is the cycle that we'll be talking about, but an important part of that is how our mind and our body work together in elevating our mood and keeping us in a strong place where we can actually deal with some of these things. And Cynthia's got some really great information about doTERRA's new Mind Mood Wellness program.
So it's a cliffhanger with what Mark's told you so far, right? He hasn't really told you how you're going to move out of these things. It just, they exist. And I think that's a key point for us to all remember, is to look at yourself and recognize what stories you're telling you about you, right? And when we're when we're up and we're high in life and when things are going pretty good, it's easy to look at our stories and feel pretty good about them. But when things aren't going quite so well, and when things start to pull down, and maybe we are dealing with some mood difficulties and our mind's not really in charge, then that's a much more difficult thing to identify those stories that are really making the difference, whether we're going to have success in our lives and enjoy life and have good relationships, or whether we struggle. Right now, we're all going to struggle, but the peace that we have inside is determined by us, even though we don't always feel that way. And that's a hard one to come to and to understand, and it takes many years for a lot of people. But we're going to just kind of chip away at the beginning of this huge iceberg of storytelling. and we'll talk a little bit about the mind and mood wellness. So one of the things that we can do, and Mark said that the oils, I think he didn't mean to say this. I think he wasn't saying that they didn't work for him. But he said that there were a lot of things he tried and they didn't work. And then he said the oils, but the oils have worked for you. The
Oh,
oils
absolutely.
have been absolutely
The oils
fantastic.
have all the way through
Yeah.
have worked.
But
and
we didn't
helped
have
me.
them when he started learning all of these techniques. And we had them about 5 years into him learning some of these techniques that we're talking about. We were handed an opportunity to use pure oils. Now, I'd used oils before, and so I knew the difference immediately. And I also understood the importance of having that purity for the efficacy to maintain itself. And so I wanted something that was always going to work. I didn't want to play with other things. And so I chose doTERRA because I saw immediately the difference between using the products I was using and now something that was sustainable, in its efficacy. I could always depend on it. And then to find out what wonderful efforts the founders have made to keep it being the purest products that can be possibly found, plus the kinds of products that are actually going to have the benefits that we want, because all lavender isn't the same, even though it all says lavender on the label. It has a lot of good qualities, but to have it be most efficacious, it has to have certain amounts of various chemical components. And so when we're talking about working with our mind and our mood for any kind of wellness program, we need to be considering that those things that we do need to be consistent, right? And so that's what we're going to talk about right now, is that doTERRA has made this super simple. They just came out with a whole 3-month program that you can do yourself. And it's called the Mind and Mood Wellness Program. And it has certain things that you do from the beginning, and then you work your way through to the end, and you can decide by the end which things are the most efficacious for you and which ones are really good. They all work really well, but you'll find different things will help. So let's go to the next slide here.
Okay.
So here's the first kit. This will be the first month, right? And you can opt out anytime. You don't have to do all 3 months. You can try one and see what you like. You can opt in, do month 2. You don't have to worry about, oh, I'm stuck. Now I have to do all 3 months. No. But in this, it's really great because it has balance. You wear that in the morning, right? And it does what it says it does. It has wonderful oils in it that help you stay balanced. And then the other great thing that doTERRA has come up with just recently is this adaptive. And adaptive seems to be absolutely amazing for lifting mood immediately, for kind of energizing but still calming the body, and also clarity. I think it's added clarity to thinking and helping you just feel like, not on edge. And those are all super important, aren't they, when we try to get ourselves into a better mindset so we can more likely deal with the mood changes that we're having within us. And adaptive also helps us relax our brain so that we have a better mood set too. And of course, if you're going to do that, you can do it all day long by using a deodorant that has essential oils in it. And so you can use the all natural doTERRA blend of
We've seen
that.
such tremendous impact with adaptive. It's been
Oh,
really
goodness.
surprising.
Yeah.
immediate.
Yeah, so
impact.
we like, okay, what did you see? Because we wanted to make sure that wasn't just made up. It's pretty incredible.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Now the second month would be this, and it includes again another kind of adaptive. So the first month you get the adaptive capsules, and the second month you're going to get the adaptive blend, and you can use that in a nice bath. You've got bath salts that come with this. You can stick it a couple drops in there when you're in your bath. You can use lavender to calm, and Mark's all-time favorite. He's got it right here in front of us right now. It's wild orange for tonight, right?
I've been diffusing it all day up in my office.
Yeah, he does it every day.
It is my go-to
And then
oil.
sometimes he'll get some arbor vitae in there, and he's got that one right here too. But those are kind of his go-tos. But these are awesome things. And one of the things you get is this black spruce. Now, Balance actually has black spruce in it, and black spruce has been used by Indian cultures for many, hundreds of years, I guess, because of its just kind of rooting, grounding kind of sense that it gives to your mental attitudes and your mindset. And then the last month, you'll get kind of a double punch with a different kind of adaptive. It's a spray. So in a bedroom, you can just kind of spray it somewhere. If you're a person that you're around doesn't want to have it on them and you don't have a diffuser going with it. And then Serenity for sheets. You can put Serenity on your sheets at night. Serenity is awesome when it comes to helping with sleep. And we all know how much better our mood is when we get good sleep and how much better our mindset is. So get a good night's sleep using the Serenity. And then you also have cedarwood and citrus bliss. And we haven't really talked about citrus bliss, but it's another great one for calming any kinds of scattered brain experiences and just giving an overall lift. I think it smells like creamsicles. So I love the smell. It's got this vanilla and orange, tangerine smell.
Making my mouth water.
Anyway, and then of course, everybody knows what lavender is good for. So because that's where we all started from, was using lavender. So that's a great one. And now then you can add things to it to customize it. So you can add the Serenity caps. You can use copaiba, which is also inadaptive, but some people find that the copaiba is extremely effective to quell the storms of moods and help you feel more restful. And just, it has a lot of really great capabilities. Go online and check out Dr. Hill and copaiba and hear what he has to say about it. Pretty amazing stuff.
And also for pain management, copaiba is terrific. I take.
You have the discomfort in your hands, and you're dealing with that.
Some of the things that, or when I work out hard, or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Copaiba has been a really great one for me.
Sure, copaiba is fantastic for that. You know, inflammation is the #1 killer, and that's where most of those kinds of issues come from or stem from, is having too much inflammation in the body.
Right.
A little's good, a lot not so. So anyway, and then they have the children's blends, which are the Steady and the Thinker. So you can use all of those and really customize your own program as you go along too, and add what you need so that your needs are taken care of. And it's important because you are in charge of your health. No one else is. You are in charge of it, and you get to determine how healthy you want to be, and you can change your story. And speaking of stories, this is a story that you can change. You know, you don't have to think about moving into your 60s and 70s and 80s and being on a lot of prescription drugs. You may have to have some right now. We're not saying don't do that or don't take that, but we're just saying that doesn't have to be the way life is. Right. My dad was 95 and on any kind of prescriptions. My mom the same way. And so you can do that with your life if you take charge of what you have in your health. And we're inviting you to do that with your mindset right now and help your mind to set a different pattern. So when we do these kinds of things, all change is hard, right? At first, it sounds simple, but it's really hard at first. And it's really messy in the middle because you're trying to make these changes and it doesn't make sense. And you're like, why am I doing this? What was the reason? You know, and then whoosh, the beauty comes at the end, right? When you finally get to the top of that mountain and you look over, wow, it's worth every vista. It was worth every moment you worked on it, and you have all of the results that are going to stay with you for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. And, you know, I talked about this last time, but for me, it was a real steep learning curve. Cynthia had studied oils and natural healing and that kind of thing for a long time. But for me, it was a much steeper learning curve. And that was the messy in the middle part for me, because I was like, yeah, I really want to try this. But sorting through everything and keeping track of which supplements, which oils, until I got it into a routine. And then it started just really hitting for me. And I felt the difference, and I saw the difference in my mood and my health. And the outcome at the end was amazing.
Yes.
So we really hope that these are some helpful ideas for you to consider. We talked a little bit about the ouch, grr, blah, blah, blah cycle, and the victim getting stuck in your story, and thinking about stepping back and thinking about how that maybe is in a part of your life, especially in stressful situations. Step back and kind of take a look at what's going on there. And I'll talk next week about a little bit more about how to break that cycle and things that could be helpful for improving that part of your life. And then the mind and body stress that we've talked about. We hope that these have been helpful for you.
Yeah, and guess what? You don't have to wait until next week for something else. You can actually read the book, and then you can be the expert, and then you can tell us what we need to do. So it's not only on Kindle, but it's also on Audible. So you have all three that you can choose from. And we invite you to do this for yourself, to purchase this for yourself. Give yourself the opportunity to, find that way out and to find a way into a better thought process. And also try a couple of these oils just so that you can help disrupt the patterns that you've created and move into something that's much better for you for the long term, because that's what we would love to have happen for you. Is we're hoping that you can find what you need, what you're looking for, so that you can help yourself move past the things like we've been able to in our lives.
Absolutely. We really sincerely hope that we can all find that place where we can be our finest selves and give our greatest gifts to the world. Thank you for joining us today. And we'll look forward to seeing you on a future podcast.
Yes.
Webinar.
And don't forget that you can start out with the month right now, October 1st that we're on. It's the first month that the monthly plans are going to be available. And we always start with Life on Vitality, like you see back there. That's always what we say is kind of like number one step. And then you add things to it and help yourself into better health and empower yourself into taking charge of your own destiny. So thanks for joining us. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.